The next round of the ARC Formula 1 Championship. We are here at the Belgian Grand Prix, and it is raining and it is pouring. Let's see, well, actually, afternoon. Evening in Belgium, not literally evening here, though. Did interesting, like, well, I commentated the Canadian Grand Prix. There was not really much of a race for the Austrian Grand Prix. There were like 7 cars. I ended up racing that one, actually. And then we had the British Grand Prix, which I could not commentate due to being out of town for my birthday. But I'm back to bring you the action here for the Belgian Grand Prix, as the first lap of the session is about to begin, on board with Lee Kelly in the Alfa Romeo. His teammate Nathan Carr not very far behind. Just about keeps all 4 on the road through Eau Rouge. Gotta get my commentary voice up and running again. I haven't done so in some time now. Well, yeah, I guess the last thing I did was the ARC Ferrari Challenge finale. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks and change, anyway. Also currently on their laps, there's a few other ones. There are a couple of debuting drivers as well. I don't know all of their names, though. We don't know Dylan's last name. As of now, he's only going by Dylan. Restyle. I think his name was mentioned, but I don't remember what it was. And then Astinik, which I don't know what his name was either. The sign-up forums are never made public, so I never get to just read people's names. It's kind of inconvenient as the commentator who has to know everyone's names. And Lee Kelly is going to enter the final chicane, or bus stop, or whatever you call it. So there we go. He runs a 52.55 for his first lap. It appears Nathan Carr got his lap invalidated. Dylan is the second person to complete a lap, 54.0. There's Connor Suchel with a 53.9. Same thing goes for AJ Knickel, who finished the lap right afterward. Okay, so Astinik Gaming is actually Billy Targy. Billy Targy, I think it is. So that's one of the 3. Restyle has not given his name at all yet. And then we just have Dylan in the Mercedes. But anyway, and in my rambling, nobody else has completed a valid lap yet, so I haven't missed anything at least. Never mind, there's Liam Krog with a 51.7. Absolutely crushing the previous personal, or previous, like, session best. So you see Johnny Parker, who has recently moved over to the Haas team. His, like, 3rd different team of the season, I believe. And he has just begun his lap. Around comes Nathan Carr for his first actual lap. It's 52.6. Dylan has run another lap for some reason. Not a very good one. May have had a mistake or so, or 2 or 5 in there. Christian Pacheco is about to complete his as he heads towards the final 2 corners of the track. Huge oversteer out of the last corner. He will manage a 54 flat. So, just barely above last in the session. Fidel Fabian, now on a new team for AlphaTauri this evening. Why do I keep saying evening? What country am I in? He runs a 55.5. I think everybody else is on an in-lap except for Parker, I think. I tend to assume, so we'll just ride on board with him as he runs through the final sector of the track. Connor Hannick, Kyler Boggs, and the revealed Billy Targhee have just begun their outlaps, so we'll be putting the camera on them in just a moment. Leaving the final turn, destroying the rev limiter. Parker runs a 54.2, but a little bit off pace for what I expect from him. Connor Hannick about met the wall. That was a little bit sketchy. Oh yeah, Hannick is considerably further along than those two are, so we shall put the camera on him. Because I don't think that any of the drivers that are, you know, they don't say pit next to them. I think they're on their in-laps. And away he goes. Now, on top of being in the rain, the first rain race that I've had the pleasure of actually commentating in ARC, I think. If there was one, I'm forgetting it. And I want to say if there ever was one, I think it might have been a Project Cars race. So, at the very least, the first rained out F1 race that I've watched. Connor Hannick does not have his ERS activated, so this may be some form of installation lap to see how the setup handles. That's my guess. As Kyler Boggs sets off on his fast lap. Passes by Nathan Carr, who is on his outlap. Just about keeps it on the road through Eau Rouge. Very sketchy in the rain. But so as I was saying, not only is this race in the rain, but we have strict corner cutting back on. As we've changed the rule, as we've changed the corner cut ruling for like the 7th time in this league's existence. So it'll become, you know, even harder than normal to keep the car within play, since, you know, less cornering grip due to it being covered in water. You just have to excuse me with my occasional coughs and such, as my mic broke yesterday and my current replacement does not have a mute button, so if I cough or sneeze, the audience will get to hear all of it. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it other than turn my head the other way and cough into my arm or such, but that only does so much, as yeah, Hannick definitely was doing a bit of an installation lap with his 58.9 and has a bit of a scare up Eau Rouge as he's now trying to push the tires and the rest of the car for that matter. Out of the final turn comes Boggs, and he will manage a 53.4, puts him pretty much in the middle of the grid. Now we'll switch over to Billy, as he's going to complete his lap, and a 56 flat. Why isn't there like a separate denotion for in-lap versus out-lap versus hot lap? Why can't we just have that? I couldn't turn my head fast enough there, excuse me. I did not bring any sort of parchment's not, it's paper. Any sort of thing to drink, so I just get to suffer, and you will get to suffer with me as long as I continue to cough, which hopefully will not be for the whole day, but I'm not holding on hope. They're right on board with Nathan Carr and his new seat at the Alfa Romeo. And a sort of cruel irony. He got fired from NFR, and then neither of my actual drivers have been able to show up today, so I guess it's sort of like a former partnership type thing. It'll be him I'm rooting for. So it wasn't a personal... It was not a personal affair, as he runs a 52.2 and reaches second on the grid for the moment. It was not a personal affair, it was just... You know, well, here I was thinking I'd find a driver that didn't crash. No, I just find a driver that can't show up. So there we go. Speaking of showing up, here is AJ Knickel approaching the last set of corners on his next hot lap. He needs to gain almost a whole second to improve his spot on the starting grid. He will not be doing that. He will improve by about 2/10, 2.5. It says right there, Iker. So he gained something, he just didn't gain a spot on the grid. There is very much a skill gap at play, not that I'd expect much else from AF1. Since the difference between pole and the lowest qualifying time right now is, well, I know Connor Hannock was intentionally going slowly on his lap, so we'll say it's between 1st and 11th, so almost 4.5 seconds between the fastest and theoretically slowest driver. Because I'd be surprised if Hannock cannot improve on that 58.98 of his. Jonathan Parker flat out through a Rouge. Even drivers on the front row cannot do that. However, it may look like he has higher wings, as he's not really reaching the top speeds of the likes of Liam Karag is. Who's our current pole sitter and has been since about like 3 minutes into the session, I want to say. And Dylan begins his first lap. Fidel Fabian has retired from the session. I believe that was in the pit lane, so no incident at play. Liam Krog sets the bar even higher, improving by about 0.3 to a 51.42. I don't really know if you needed to go any faster just yet. Doesn't really seem like you have any immediate competition, but go off. Maybe we found our Mr. Thunderstorm in Mr. Karag up there. Who's to say? Parker about meets the Stavlo tire barriers. Because they jut out so weird, it's very easy. It's almost like a impromptu wall of champions, pretty much. At least so it is in my experience. Getting it slowed down for the final set of turns. Can Parker improve and get near the top half of the field? Quite a bit into the 53s, so he will now be 6th on the grid. Dylan has invalidated his lap time somewhere along the way. I don't know if he'll make another attempt or not. Clearly today is going to be a battle between Alfa Romeo and McLaren. Since we have Lee Kelly, who I believe is on a fast lap. Used up just about all of the road there, so that leads me to believe that he in fact is doing that. Also with how strict corner cutting is, I'm surprised he didn't get slapped on the wrist for that exit, because it seemed to be a lot of curb for this game. And as most of us know, strict corner cutting is actually more strict than the real life FIA are when it comes to track extensions. Exiting the final turn, he's just shy, runs a 51.5 to jump back ahead of his teammate. But his teammate may still have an answer if he gets to the line quick enough. He's got 15 seconds to negotiate Blanchimont and the bus stop. And he will be the last person to begin his flying lap. But I don't think that's going to happen. No, it is not. Same thing goes for Connor Setchell, who was just up the road from him. Restyle comes out of nowhere with a 52.3. Dylan is also on a fast lap. And the other remaining threat on the track is Kyler Boggs. Mikey DeJong. Oh, he is on the track. I'm apparently blind. My bad. I thought he just wasn't going to qualify. No, he's definitely a threat to do something. If he can manage to keep the lap valid. Kyler Boggs has retired. He either wasn't happy with his lap, or he may have just made an error. And wrecked the car. It's not impossible. Not here, anyway. Mikey is looking awfully rapid at the moment. First, let's see what Dylan manages on his final attempt at the lap. Very composed on the exit, but he's not really going to improve much. He's not going to improve at all, actually. So, all eyes are on Mikey as he reaches the finish, and adds a third company to the battle for qualifying with a 51.97. Puts him on the second row. Lee Kelly has stolen pole at the very last second. 2/10 to it, so it'll be an Alfa Romeo on the pole. And I didn't even notice that Restyle was on another lap. I thought he'd already run his. Fourth gear on the exit. I guess it doesn't matter when you make this much torque. 51.7. That might have been third, and it was third. So, quite a shock debut here for him. His name has not been revealed yet. Seems kind of funny we have like Racer X or something here qualifying third. And I was mostly right. Connor Hannock did eventually improve that lap time to a 54.2. I must have missed that. So the difference between the fastest and the slowest driver is 4.8 seconds. The top 10, or the top 8 within 2 seconds. So it's not the closest, but rain is said to be the great equalizer, so can maybe spawn a shock result. You never know. Or it could just spawn 1998 Belgian Grand Prix. Again, you never know. The only thing I do know is if it's a rain race, it's almost never a boring race. That's the other option I have, is I can just unplug my mic, but I know that makes a very loud ticking noise when I do so, so I have to try and, you know, avoid doing that. And here we get set to begin our formation lap. Why do you take away my information, losers? Give me that back. As I say, we certainly don't have to look at the tires everybody is on. If we're not on the intermediates right now, you have a death wish. It's not raining that heavily. Apparently they're saying that inters can go like 8 to 12 laps, apparently. So, if you're smart and don't drive like a maniac, you can make a one-stop. The weather is not dynamic. It is the same intermediate conditions throughout as it is scattered showers in Belgium in real life right now. I think for me, I don't even know what the standings look like right now. Maybe I should probably have brought that up before the race began, if I were a smart person. Okay, still the formation lap to try and load the website. I think the biggest storylines for me going into this race is Connor Setchell and Parker get DQ'd from the formation lap. I think the biggest storylines here are... Apparently there's just no constructors, huh? Let's see here. So, oh my, it is not even close. Dear Lord. I assume that this is current. Yeah, it is, because there's 9 wins tracked. So, as of this moment, Lee Kelly is your points leader by 40 over Mikey De Jong. And then it's another 7 to Christian Pacheco, and so on. I'll just update it later. So we have the 5 red lights, and we are green for this very waterlogged Belgian Grand Prix as you hear the agonized screaming of those V6 engines as they dive towards T1. This is not a helpful camera angle at all. I think Liam Krog has he's retaken the lead. Yes, he's retaken the lead from Lee Kelly as the drivers head up Eau Rouge. And it seems all pretty single file. We have both a Haas and an AlphaTauri who have seen better days. I don't know which ones those are, but it seems we're under VSC. Yeah, we certainly are. It's Parker and, well, the AlphaTauri had to be Fidelfi. I mean, he's the only one here. So Jonathan Parker got involved in an early crash. I assume involving Fidel. Couldn't really see it, probably because it probably happened going into La Source, which the camera decided that it was more important to look at the medical vehicle parked on the hill rather than the actual race. Thank you, camera. The VSC has now ended though, and that's looking sketchy. Yeah, that's not a great idea, Kelly. Puhan's not really a passing zone on lap 1 in the rain. One driver who's had a good start so far is Billy Targi here, who is up from last to points. And he's got a bit of a safety cushion. What? So, you know, you can look behind whatever you're doing, no matter what car you're looking at, but if you do so, you're only going to look at... I'm only able to look at Lee Kelly, okay. Because nobody else matters, I guess. The first lap is completed. There's the stop strategy again. Somehow Restyle F1 is already negative on his fuel delta. I mean, I know racing in the rain uses more fuel, but that much? Oh, right, the formation lap bug. As Christian Pacheco is in the pits. I'm not sure why he is in the pits. Oh, he also got wing damage. I just didn't notice, I guess. And that means we're gonna have to wait longer for the leaderboards to correct themselves. It all seems to be correct up to this point, with the exception of Pacheco, who's not leading. Lee Kelly is just abusing his engine right now. And it'll probably take a full safety car if we're ever going to see Johnny Parker really accomplish anything here other than 12th place. As at long last, the leaderboards have finally returned to normal. And wow, this is very spread out. We've done 2 laps. And everyone looks close together on the intervals, but in reality, they're really not. Connor Setchel is getting closer to AJ Kaneko, but getting there is one thing, passing the other, especially since the rain disables DRS, which is like the only way you can ever pass in F1 nowadays, so... Especially here where the cars are all equal. It's not like, you know, this is the actual Red Bull passing the actual Alfa Romeo because, well, he'd have made the move already. Nathan Carr giving the big squeeze to the Red Bull driver. Red Bull driver manages to keep the car going just about straight. He's very loose right now, though. Does he have a puncture? It's hard to kind of tell because the rain looks the same as like the water droplet visuals kind of make it look like they're puncturing anyway. Yeah, you can see, like... He's back to racing at normal speed, so I don't think he has a puncture. He was just... We had warm tires. And we have a crash from the Red Bull of Aston Nick, or Billy Targi. However, that's only a VSC. Don't know if that was intended retirement or what was it? But, he's out of here. And the VSC has concluded again. For the sake of all the drivers now out of the points, time to hope the next one is a actual safety car. Ninja Kinnickle is getting closer to Dylan. Like I'm gonna probably overstate his name just about every time. It's like I speak in bold print or something. Dylan! These three cars are the only ones that are really close to each other right now, that I can tell. Only ones within a second are Setchel, Kinnickle, and Dylan. The gap between Liam and Lee are... well, no, that's not grammar. The distance at the front is sort of fluctuating. They get a little closer, they get spread apart again, they get closer again, they get apart again. It's a repeating cycle. They are close-ish for now, but it may just be that Kelly is better in this sector than Karag is. And maybe Karag is better in Sector 2. We'll just have to watch the intervals and pay attention to if that gap gets to less than like 4/10, and that's when I shall move the camera. The gap is about 4/10 as I'm speaking about it. And Kelly has now entered the picture. I'm trying to put pressure on the lead car, but again, passing is a very different task here, so AJ pushing all of his ERS to try and get a shot at the Mercedes driver. But he's got to make it snappy, because if it takes too long, Connor Setchel gets a shot. And AJ gets the first penalty of the race for track extending through Puhan. He will now get a 3-second penalty, which makes that battle on track just about pointless. So now I guess I shall shift the camera back to our lead cars, as I received a comment. Matthew Stotts is in the chat. Not even cheering on his teammate, he's cheering on Jonathan Parker. Ah, disgusting lockup from Lee Kelly. And Krog is also mostly better through a Rouge. I've just noticed that. They're both pushing their ERS about equally right now, so this is probably going to be at a stalemate for a bit. I also did notice that Restyle ran the fastest lap of the race. Connor Hannock with a penalty for leaving track limits. He'll become the second victim of strict corner cutting on the day. And I'm sure we have not seen anywhere near the end of that just yet. Restyle is getting back near Nathan Carr once more. He's looking for the rematch. Nathan Carr in himself is getting near Mikey DeJong. Mikey apparently negative on the fuel delta, so something to be aware of. Nathan Carr doesn't quite have the confidence through Stablo 2 as Restyle does. That'll give him some advantage, but Freestyle is also not pushing the ZRS, so that gives the advantage back to the Alfa Romeo driver. Andrew has run himself out of ERS to push with, so he's not really making much time up on Dylan. Lee Kelly once again gets closer through the first corner, but then loses it again on the main straight. Even the slipstream isn't really doing much to avail him here. And neither driver wants to push their ERS yet, because they're both saving it for when they get into combat with each other. However, that's never going to happen if one of them doesn't push the ERS to make the move happen in the first place. So we're at an impasse until one of them makes an error. Until that happens, we'll watch the sort of half battle for third that I think should be starting up soon. So this race would be going much differently if it were not raining, because well, you never want to touch that curb. That curb will... It's basically a landmine in disguise, as AJ has just found out the hard way. So, all the time that Knickel has gained on Dylan has now been lost to Connor Setchel instead. Another lockup from Lee Kelly. No. Connor Setchel is right at the doorstep. AJ does corners like that. It's going to be even easier for him to make this pass. Although, well, Urano doesn't have VTEC in it, so revving it up like that ain't going to do much. This has felt like a real F1 race so far. We haven't had any major accidents, and we haven't really had many passes either. I just noticed Nathan Carr is getting real up close and personal with Mikey DeJong just there. I don't know if that will produce anything or what. It doesn't really seem like it. I think that was just him being aggressive into the bus stop. Jay just chucks it through. No name, I think that is. Is that Rivage? I don't remember which one's which between those two corners there. Just a lot of potential not really being tapped at the moment. I believe pit stop should be approaching in the near future though, so there's a chance that that will shake things up at least a little bit and make, you know, make for conversation, because I have had much to commentate over, if I'm honest. So I can tell you right now, the first person to make a crazy send into like a braking zone like that is going to be the first person that gets talked about, but also probably the first person that gets a qualifying ban for the next round. So they're right on each other's rear wings right about now. But I still don't think we're going to see anything develop from it. No. We will not. Somebody needs to make a gosh darn mistake. Oh, here we go. Oh. I mean, what did you think would happen there? That's not really a place to do that, Parker. The battle for not last is the closest thing we've had to a pass in the last 6-7 laps. That's just kind of sad at this point. I'm no David Crofty. I'm not going to try and make fake excitement out of any time any cars are near each other. I'm just going to tell it like it is. This race has not been terribly entertaining so far. Just been a bunch of water droplets covering the screen and V6 engine noises. So there's been one attempted overtake since lap 2. And that overtake never even happened. You might see an attempt here though. Restyle's got a huge run out of Stablo too. Can the ERS carry him to an opportunity? Does Nathan Carr give him the room to do it? No, he does not! And both Red Bull drivers out. And it's another virtual safety car. Normally around this time we'd have like 2 safety cars if somebody breaks the front wing off. We've had like a literal death, and it's a virtual. At the time where we need an actual safety car to make things interesting. Now everyone just gets a free pit stop and the race continues to feel like an actual Formula 1 Grand Prix. I don't know why you two would stay out. Like, what? It might be great for me, because then we'll see action after these two end up pitting, but until that, I'm gonna get a darn thing. Surprisingly, it's no speeding penalties. As Hannick has exited the pits, as I left the camera there while I typed something on my tablets for future reference. Connor Hannick has fresh tires. You may see a battle for 9th place between himself and Pacheco here. Keyword might see a battle. Or we might just see Connor make another virtual safety car. He keeps having corner exits like that one. Ah, because they're pitting. I'm like, what? As I think that will allow Mikey de Jong to seize the lead. If not, it's going to be awfully close. It is indeed awfully close. He's going to get clear of Lee Kelly, and it'll be him next in line to try and challenge Liam Krog's lead. Nathan Carr, bit of a shock moment through a Rouge. And wall reverb was very weird. May we see something happen between either 9th and 10th or last and second from last. No, well, not this lap, not for 11th and 12th. As Nathan Carr gets a track extension warning. And Lee Kelly is still on the gearbox of the Renault driver ahead of him. Hannick has an opportunity here. They are too wide as they head into Blesor. No, I don't. Oh, as I think they've banged wheels and Pacheco comes off worse from that. I don't know who driver's at fault. I probably should have stayed on T-Cam to reveal that answer, but I'm sure us, the moderators, will see it later at the very least. What is the chicane called? I feel stupid. It's not La Source. That's turn 1. Ah, it doesn't matter. Kyler Boggs has caught up to AJ Knickel. You may see something develop there. Lee Kelly may also have a shot if he gets better through Eau Rouge. Or gets out of Eau Rouge better. Reverse syntax much. Mickey DeStrong is out of ERS. So that's pretty much a confirmed kill. Mikey DeJong's still going to send it back, but he's powerless to resist the Alfa Romeo driver at this moment. Tony Parker gets a penalty from track extending, I assume to be exiting track limits. I guess it could be corner cutting, but it just seems like it's more often extending than cutting. Jay has lost a considerable amount of time to Dylan. I don't know if he made a mistake or what have you. I mean, I assume it's what it kind of had to be. The only way he could lose 3 seconds in one go. So the last time I put the camera on him, he was right on his gearbox. But now he's very clearly not, and instead Kyler is on his gearbox. I've said gearbox a lot of times in this broadcast. I am now realizing. But Fabian with his obligatory track extend penalty. Right now, exactly half of the running drivers have a track penalty, or corner cutting penalty. You know what I mean. And now let's further skewer that as now Dylan adds to the list, making 7 out of 12 drivers currently with a time penalty. Nobody has more than 3 though, so. At least, not yet. Kyler, however, is completely out of ERS, as opposed to AJ Knickel, who's almost fully charged. So Kyler's gonna have to work awfully hard, or AJ's gonna have to make another error. If that position's going to change hands anytime soon, I think. So no one will be on this straightaway. Meanwhile, Nathan Carr has caught back up to Mikey de Jong, albeit with 1 additional time penalty since the last time they met. And oh, Nathan Carr, the first driver to acquire more than 3 seconds, I do believe, if we look at this detail. Yes, everybody else, all other 6 drivers have just 3 seconds. He has 6. Meanwhile, none of the top 3 have any, nor do either of the Racing Point drivers. I thought that was another penalty popping up. No, that's those 2 exchanging fastest lap times. Kyler Boggs has lost some ground to Knickel, and Connor Setchell is gaining ground. Possibly Clean Air having some part to play in that, I would have to guess. Although him pushing his ERS, as Parker gets 3 more seconds of penalties, him pushing his ERS may also be a liable cause. Connor Setchell had a brief image of him making that move in his head, but it was just the run came much too late. And I think Lee Kelly has probably found the classic Puhan curb. Luckily for him, he's able to safely rejoin as the nearest car is in the previous sector, or was. Now he's got to watch his tires too, because they're probably a little bit burned. And locking up, not helping things. Excuse me, I definitely need a bottle of water after this race has ended. There's something. Some drink, something to calm my stomach so that I don't feel like I'm in a desert. Anything of that sort is definitely required. Kyler Boggs has a shot at this now, though with no ERS to speak of. Yeah, you cannot make that dive. If AJ didn't save up 97% ERS, maybe the move would have been on, but no. Nathan Carr gets through for second on the back straightaway, and me, being a moron, completely missed that. Boggs activating his 5% of ERS. Meanwhile, here comes Connor Setchell with considerably more than that. And through the backstretch chicane that I've foolishly forgotten the name of. These two always a treat to watch on the racetrack together, as Setchell is forced into the runoff, and you'll have to wait for another opportunity. And I'm sure that's precisely what AJ wants to see in his mirror right about now, is he's able to just drive away from all that, and not have a worry in the universe about it. Mickey DeJong still negative on his fuel delta, and he's kind of running out of time to fix that. Carter Haddock adds more time penalties to his name. Neither Racing Point driver still with a time penalty. However, I'm sure in the back of his mind, Mikey probably realizes he doesn't really have to make much effort to take second away. He just has to kind of exist, and it'll happen anyway. Satchel definitely not within range on this occasion. No one is in range of anybody right now, as a matter of fact, so... The only thing to hope on now is that De Jong catches and, for some reason, does choose to try and pass the Alfa Romeo driver. Otherwise, we might just be sitting here reading comic books for the next 5 laps. This is where a real-life sports commentator would find their all their notes and all of their random data and records to look over as the race has hit a dull moment. You know, something like, oh, this is like the 293rd kilometer that Liam Krogha's led in his AF1 career, or something like. That's the sort of stuff they would say in real-life motorsports broadcasts. But I don't have any of that information. I have the point standings, but they're not really all that close. With Lee Kelly's 40-point lead, he's going to lose like 6 of that right now. I don't know, what a sad day for the 1%, am I right? Like, doesn't even make a difference. Not to mention, most of the on-track battles are made kind of redundant by the course penalties that many drivers have accrued over the race. Sort of make a lot of the possible on-track battles a complete waste of time, because why bother passing somebody when you're going to give them position back at the end of the race because you extended the track? It's the only reason why I was against strict corner cutting. It doesn't really matter to me not being the driver, but I just kind of feel like it has some sort of like secretive effect or subconscious effect on drivers, knowing that they can push themselves a little bit harder when the looming threat of oh, so you put 2 tires on the curb, name every track penalty type thing, and you can't try and pass anybody half the time because they might force you off the track and give you a time penalty, and it's all, you know, it's all satire, you know, but it's just kind of, it's not untrue. So Michael De Jong had a big run out of Eau Rouge, but I don't think he has the ARS to try. He will try anyway. And he has been squeezed by the Alfa Romeo driver. Although, he's not totally lost him yet, and it does please me to know that Mikey is actually trying to pass. He could very easily just sit behind Nathan and just let things happen, but he's an entertainer, I guess. Or they'll always say, you know, he's a racer, they want to do it on the track and such, so. That's good to know that we're not just going to sit here and read through Diary of a Wimpy Kid for the last 3 laps. Because unless somebody has a crash, I think we're looking at our finishing order for the most part. Let's see if Mikey de Jong can produce another good run out of Eau Rouge this time, and he's got considerably more ERS than before, so he may be able to actually make it stick. Might be. It's not guaranteed by any means. They're both pushing their ERS before they even reach the back straightaway. And they'll continue to do so as they actually get onto it. Slipstream also giving him a little bit of speed, but neither of them have ERS left to give, so Mikey's gonna fake ascend, but well, he doesn't even get to him, so she'll have to wait until lap 21, basically. If they do continue to dispute this, however, there's the very small chance that Lee Kelly will get back into the mix. That may have actually been Nathan's plan all along. He might have been trying to slow down the Renault driver to allow his teammate to get back to the podium, as AJ finds himself the victim of yet another time penalty. Probably had another scare through Puhan that probably caused that, if I had to take a guess. Of course, in getting here, Lee Kelly has exhausted much of his ERS, but honestly, he doesn't have any much more or less than his two opponents in front, so we've reached 2 laps to go, and Mikey de Jong is not really all that close to the car in front right now, so Lee Kelly's just watching these two try and break the slipstream like, what are you doing? He's definitely in the right time zone now. If Mikey has a bad corner from dirty air, or fails another move through the backstretch chicane, he may find himself in 4th place instead of 2nd. Will be 3rd place after penalties, but not the point. The point is, he may be overtaken. Kyler Boggs is close to AJ Knickel, but it ultimately doesn't make much of a difference anyway, since AJ has penalties and Boggs doesn't. It's going to happen either way. Oh man, what did those tires do to you, Kelly? Oh, Mikey's not even close to him here. There's no shot. But there's also not much shot of Lee Kelly making the move on him because he has no ERS, pretty much. So I think that this little conflict is settled. No one really has any ERS left to give, so can AJ Knickel stay away from the racing point in his rear view and at least finish 6th on track? That's the only question that is, that remains to be asked. Never mind. Oh, never mind. It doesn't matter. That's only 3 to AJ's 6. Honestly, Bob can probably afford to take that penalty if it means making the pass on the track, but There is none. Pass overtaken. And yeah, we're out of major passing zones for these two. It's been quite a stranglehold for Liam Krog. He took the lead on the first corner, and thanks to DRS not being available, he held on to it the whole way up to the end of the Belgian Grand Prix, and he will be the winner. Second on track will be Nathan Carr, but after penalties are applied due to track extensions, that'll actually be, fourth place. Lee Kelly has committed Sudoku. Quite an impressive debut for Mr. Dillon here. He's going to take 5th place in his first ARC Formula 1 start. And, well, Kyler could not make it on track. He will still steal 6th place away from Knickel thanks to penalties. And the one of 3 drivers? No, 4. Right, Liam didn't have any. One of 4 drivers who will complete the race with no penalties to their name. Christian Pacheco will come eventually get through the final corners, and he will be the last driver to take points in this. Well, I would be lying if I didn't say relatively boring Belgian GP. We only had the one dramatic crash. We didn't really have any major pileups or sudden errors. We just had driving. And 0 points for Parker on a very low note of a day. Now you know what it's like to be me in our NASCAR. I think you already knew, but now he really does. Kyler is awarded Driver of the Day by the game. I don't know. I don't think there's much competition for that because it's basically, well, who moved up more than one position? Because congratulations, you're Driver of the Day. Yeah, there's not really any disputing that. The only other driver even remotely competing for that Driver of the Day is the fact that Dylan went from 7th to 5th on his debut in the league.